So let's start with some guru prayers here. And we can begin. So exit there. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshuram Militam Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Slapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Bhagavadaya Vidati Svadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Parakam Shri Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Radina Panditam Sajivam Sarvaitam Savadaitam Harijan Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sagana Lalita Shri Visa Panditam Scha Hare Krishna Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Namaste Tapta Kanchana Gaurani Radhe Ramaneshwari Vrishabhani Sute Devi Namami Priye Panchakalpa Tirumishta Vasasana Patitanam Pavanebhyo Namo Vishnu Pranaya Krishna Krishnaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamini Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shanivaya Pashtati Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Hare. Piyush, can you fix that? Because it's like it's bothering me. It's like a little off. Like, just make the phone parallel with that. Well, you could do it like that, but if you make it parallel with the thing holding it, it may actually. You see, the bottom of the phone is actually not parallel with the thing holding the phone. It's at some angle. So you just would have to loosen it. Make it parallel. All right, here we go. We had a very nice subject matter last night about how to save our lives through the process of bhakti and some of the qualities we need. Good morning. So we were talking about that last night. That was very nice. Now today we're getting back to our Srimad Bhagavatam reading. And Srimad Bhagavatam, this is such an important, Bhagavat Shravan is one of the 5 essentials that every day we should be doing in our bhakti. Even when I don't have the chance to go through it with you guys, which I try to do on a daily basis, say we have a program or something like that, like tomorrow, we will do something, but I don't think we're going to do the Bhagavatam tomorrow. You guys should take it on your own to really make sure you at least go check out some teaching from the Bhagavatam, or even if you read Bhagavad Gita, which is the preliminary to the Bhagavatam, you can get something in relation to the Bhagavatam. But this is something we need to do every day. Why? It'll cleanse our hearts of our material desires. Our material desires are what cause us suffering. And ultimately, it destroys the ability, Nishinga was sharing this nice verse, and Parth had the question on this yesterday. Are we really not practicing bhakti? As long as Anyabhilashita is still there, as long as you still have material desire, we are barred from really practicing bhakti at a deep level. We've begun the process, but until it's completely Cheto Darpana Marjanam, until the heart is completely cleansed through the process, and the holy names of the Lord are what we want to take on our tongue and in our minds and in our hearts, then we aren't really touching upon the real deep spirit of bhakti. We're beginning, we're training, we're in the practice field. So we're doing sadhana bhakti right now. And it's very, very necessary, because if we just go out into the road and try and drive without training, then we're going to get in an accident, we're going to make mistakes, and we're going to get ourselves in trouble. So we're in the training process. Now, these devotees here we're mentioning, they are not on the training process. They are advanced and have made many, many lifetimes of advancement. So now they actually get to see Krishna. Krishna comes through their, their neck of the woods, or their neighborhood. Krishna pops in now because he goes to where his devotees are. So now certain devotees, when you make advancement, you'll take birth where the Lord is to be. So even many devotees, they all showed up in the same region when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was appearing on the planet. What's that?
Your baby.
My baby. Even, yes, my baby here, he's chosen me and Sita as his father and mother, I'm hoping. I saw some, really scary thing where some young mother had passed away at birth, so then I got all a little frightened. She's online? Yes, yeah, she'll hear too. We have to watch out for this thing. So anyway, I was very disturbed, and I was like, oh my God, that better not happen, So, but I don't think it will happen. But he's chose us for whatever reason as the mother and father, or Krishna placed him, which is probably more accurate, as his mother and father. But due to his level of advancement, for whatever reason, maybe this environment is where he will continue off from his past bhakti practice. So we'll see. But yes, when we make significant amounts of advancement, we go near and near to the Lord. And we go to where the Lord is going to be in at some place, time, and circumstance. And the Lord is always alternating where he's going and showing up. Because he's created many, many billions upon billions of universes. You've seen the Mahavishnu, all the little perspiration beads coming out of him. There's that many, there's billions upon billions upon innumerable amounts of universes, even material universes. So ultimately the Lord is always alternating where he's going and how and who gets to associate with him in all these different places. So anyhow, let's see some examples of these devotees. So let's read this verse. Well, maybe a quick recap because it's been a few days, right? O friends, just think of his wives whose hands he has accepted, how they must have undergone vows, baths, fire sacrifices, and perfect worship of the Lord of the universe to constantly relish now the nectar from his lips by kissing. The damsel of Vrajabhumi would often faint just by expecting such favors. What is that an example of? Vows, baths, fire sacrifices, and a perfect worship of the Lord. What's that an example of? What type of bhakti? No, not that low.
Fire sacrifices,
It could be, but it's not that low. Karma Kanda is where it's on the platform Upasana Kanda. What's that?
Can you please reframe the question?
What is this an example of all these things? Vows, baths, fire sacrifice? Yes. But we were just talking about it. What type of bhakti? Sadhana bhakti.
Oh.
Okay. These are practices. These aren't ultimately what's really pleasing to the Lord, but this is a very, very good start to train the mind and the consciousness to think upon the Lord. Every day we're singing bhajans and things like this. And so a lot of times we're just running through the motions. But today it was nice. I was watching Piyush, very enthusiastic, dancing. And, we're getting in a groove and it inspires us all. We're getting deeper and deeper feel for this. But we might have to do this for many lifetimes, running through the motions and get a little bit more and a little bit more before we're ready. Like here, the Vrajabhumi damsels, they earn the ability to kiss the Lord. Now, what very interesting level of devotion there. Then, she's saying the children of these ladies are Pradyumna, Sambhar. They're talking about the Dwarka queens, all the devotees of Hastinapur. Were forcibly taken away by him from their Swayambara ceremonies after he defeated many powerful kings headed by Shishupal, and other ladies were also forcibly taken away by him after he killed Bhaumasura and thousands of assistants. All these ladies are glorious. So now, because they're ladies, they're glorifying how incredible these ladies are. Because, naturally we want this thing. When you see a very fortunate man, we're like, wow, I wish I had that thing going on for me. And it's good, even when you see, now in the devotional world, you might meet some personalities, and they're just so learned and they're so ecstatic in their devotional life. Wow, I just really want that for my life. Oh wow, he knows all these shlokas and he knows all these bhajans and he's so upbeat and things like that. So I want to do that. I want what he has. So the ladies, they're seeing that with his wives in Dwarka, and also they're remarking about how glorious the ladies of Rajabhumi were, or Vrindavan. So now let's continue with this is the last of these. Remember, these are the Hastinapur ladies. They're all leaving Hastinapur. And King Yudhishthira is the king of that kingdom. Arjuna, Pandavas, all of it's now their kingdom. So this is what they're saying. So we'll read this verse. Eta param stritvam apasta peshalam. Go ahead.
Eta param strivam apata peshalam.
Nirasta shocham bata sadhu kurvate.
Nirastra saucham bata sadhu kurvate.
Yasam grihat pushkara lochana patir.
Yasam grihat pushkar lochana patir.
Najat vapait yahriti bir hridi sprishan.
Najat paiti avriti debir hridi sprisham.
Okay. Eta.
Eta.
All these women. Param. Highest. Stritvam. Womanhood. Apasta peshalam. Without individuality. Nirasta. Without. Shocham. Purity. Bhatasadu. Auspiciously glorified.
Auspiciously glorified.
Kurvate. Do they make? Yasam. From whose? Grahat. Homes. Pushkara lochana. The lotus-eyed. Pati. Husband. Najatu. Never at any time. Apaiti. Goes away. Ahriti bi. By presentation. Hridi. In the heart. Sprishan. Endeared. Translation. All these women auspiciously glorified their lives, despite their being without individuality and without purity. Their husband, the lotus-eyed personality of God, had never left them alone at home. He always pleased their hearts by making valuable presentations. So let's see what this means here. Is that Craig? Good morning, Craig. Hare Krishna. So again, all these women auspiciously glorified their lives, despite their being without individuality and without purity. Their husband, the lotus-eyed personality of God, had never left them alone at home. He always pleased their hearts by making valuable presentations. Prabhupada is saying, the devotees of the Lord are purified souls. As soon as the devotees surrender unto the lotus feet of the Lord sincerely, the Lord accepts them, and thus the devotees at once become free from all material contaminations. Such devotees are above the three modes of material nature. There is no bodily disqualification of a devotee, just as there is no qualitative difference between the Ganges water and the filthy drain water when they are amalgamated. Women, merchants, and laborers. Women, merchants, that's pretty far out, huh? Even when the filthy drain water comes in contact with the Ganges, it actually becomes pure.
It's happening a lot right now.
Yes. Women, merchants, and laborers are not very intelligent. Oh God. And thus it is very difficult for them to understand the science of God or to be engaged in the devotional service of the Lord. They are more material. Now remember, this is on the materialistic platform. For the devotees, this verse is mentioning that. They are more materialistic, and in less than them are the Kiratas, Hunas, Andras, Pulindas, Pulkashas, Abiras, Kankas, Yavanas, Kasas. These are different types of, cultures, and you may even say, not necessarily races, but different types of classes of people. Especially these are local to the Indian continent. But what this verse is saying, this is going to be a little bit tough. Especially, it's not politically correct. You cannot go out. I'm surprised. We should turn the Facebook Live off. But it's not politically correct. But to be factual, all of the different races and ethnicities and cultures of the world, they all have their own different flavor, cultures, things like this. And on the material platform, there is distinguishment between them. Meaning, also, some may be more favorable for spiritual life and some may be less favorable. They may have less clean habits, less favorable habits, and so on. Every culture is different. And so this is mentioning all of the different cultures who tend to be less clean and less suitable. But, this huge but, remember there's a but all of them can be delivered if they are properly engaged in the devotional service of the Lord. This eliminates all racism, all any ism. This is the qualification if you're engaged in the devotional service of the Lord. The designative disqualifications are removed, and as pure souls they become eligible to enter into the kingdom of God. Prabhupada continues, the fallen girls under the clutches of Bhaumasura sincerely prayed to Lord Sri Krishna for their deliverance, and their sincerity of purpose made them at once pure by virtue of devotion. The Lord therefore accepted them as his wives, and thus their lives became glorified. Such auspicious glorification was still more glorified when the Lord played with them as the most devoted husband. So, just so you understand Vedic, some context for the Vedas, in order to practice the Vedas, one would have to be like a Brahmin. One would a top class of society, very, very intelligent, have a very clean life. Everything is paka and clean. Paka means fixed, it's perfect. Everything is really clean. But there's many aspects. Even, my wife, she does some cooking, and we offer it. But I'm often, sometimes I know just by nature, the way she's interacting in the kitchen, not everything is able to, she's forgetting rules and things like that. And just naturally, this is, and she's a devotee actually. But because she's a devotee, everything is pure. At least it's purer. I mean, we're aspiring devotees. We're not really on that real devotional platform yet. But it's pure. But this is by nature, women, or even you could say the laboring class of society, who is not interested in spiritual Brahmanism. They tend to have less clean habits. They tend to have less proper worship practices, and so on. In today's culture, everyone will scream sexism, chauvinism, racism, this, that, and the other thing. Maybe they can even have an argument for labeling it under that. But this is the teachings of the Lord, and they can argue with the Lord if they must. But what we understand is the Lord is giving the equality. Where is the equality? In his devotional service. Even unqualified people become qualified. Otherwise, yes.
No material impediment.
There is no material impediment. That's right. Even though it seems like, oh my gosh, there are plenty of people. We had an instance the other day. I didn't mention this to Tej, but I was a little hurt because there was a gentleman who is from downtown. You guys have met him before. He's come here. This nice man. It starts with a T. And he's nice, but he still has plenty of worldly habits, like drinking and things like this. So, I would try and coordinate him to get a ride and things. And one of our guys, he gets there, but he said, oh, well, he makes everyone uncomfortable. He smells of alcohol and this thing and that thing and the other thing. And on one level, I can understand, that's not not ideal. But on another level, even though he's part of a rougher neighborhood in town, if he wants to come and practice devotional service, this is his qualification. We should accept him as he is. So this is actually our, are we getting,
Madhavi wrote something.
what did my wife want? Right.
Devotees clarify devotee women and women as a different category. So devotee women and women are a different.
Yeah, well, that's the point where we're getting to. Every material qualification, whether you're a woman, whether you're a basic laborer in society, and things like this, or any of these other forest-dwelling things. I mean, look. We have them in our society. We have our pariahs in society. We just, by our politically correct culture, all prisoners. They are a certain class of society that most of society knows not to associate with. We consider them unclean and we should lock them up and things like this. Like things like pedophiles and, all these things. They're parts of society. But even if one of these people, prisoners, and I've seen it. I've seen prisoners who really turned the other cheek and came to Krishna. They become qualified. Anybody, no one's barred. Prisoners, pedophiles, anybody, great sinners, Adolf Hitler, anybody, if they come to the Lord. Even the Christians understand this. My cousin was, she's a missionary by profession. I was at the funeral. Naturally, I gravitated towards her side of the family because they're very godly. So I was like, so I would have most of my conversations with them. And also they live far away, so it was like a good opportunity. But anyhow, we were joking, and she was saying, about the Christian teaching, like, yeah, even if someone like Hitler, if he at the end accepted the Lord and he gets to go to heaven. Like, that's their understanding. And maybe we might feel like the Lord would have some equalizing justice that would be just suitable for Hitler in the crimes he may have committed. But still, the same principle is there. If he accepted devotional service, he actually he rises above all those disqualifications that he's done. But to actually accept devotional service will also to accept that you're repentant and that you'll sin no more. Two of the prime teachings Jesus gave. In his beginning, what is this? Oh, Krishna Rishi's 16,000 princesses. Now these right here, this is a good example. These are the princesses of Bhaumasura. Bhaumasura, what he did is he went and he would take all of these young virgin girls and take them as his own, and he imprisoned them. And, so pretty much in Vedic society, once a woman, and actually, again, not politically correct, but once a woman is touched by another man, she's deemed unclean. But why? Because, how do I say? Affection is created. Affection is created by the interaction of young men and young women. And so, in Kali Yuga, everyone's unclean. The men, the women, everybody is completely unclean. We've been interacting even now in India, where there was a very nice system where the women were kind of separated and the men were separated. And when they come together, when marriage. And then it was all had to do, like, women were married younger because their desires start to come a little bit earlier than men in a certain way. And so then they were married, and then they developed only affection for that one husband, and they will be so satisfied to serve that husband his whole life because they didn't know anything else. But once they know someone else or something other thing, then all the comparisons are made, and next thing you know, he's no good, get rid of this one. And so this was understood in Vedic culture, and it was considered unclean if a young virgin girl had made any contact with another man, especially, these were not kind, if any type of sexual thing was there. This was why we heard on Ram Navami, it was very, all these really interesting pastimes where Ram was... you couldn't fathom, how could Ram send his wife to the forest? She was innocent, even though Ravan took her. But just because there was speculation amongst the people of his kingdom, and this would give doubt in his leadership, he had to act on it as the duty of a king, even though she was innocent. So similarly, these girls are also innocent. But due to the societal measures, a king has taken her and all this thing, so now she is deemed unclean. And these are all like the prizes of the world, the most beautiful princesses of the world, all collected, 16,000 of them by this great demonic king, Bhaumasura. So Krishna actually accepted them as his wives. That's the liberality of Krishna. The societal so-called disqualifications are not disqualifications. What's the only qualification?
Surrender.
Yes, devotional service or bhakti, love. All kind of correct. But that's the only qualification. So yes, here we are in Kali Yuga. I grew up in meat-eating families and things. So many disqualifications. I mean, me and my wife, we grew up just regular, seeming disqualifications, I should say. We grew up in so many different circumstances. We were dating many other people, things like that. All disqualifications for a pure marriage, except devotional service is there. We can maybe do it. Only if devotional service is there. But the pure marriage isn't really the important thing. The main thing is, are we doing devotional service? So we can do devotional service together. Everyone is in a really difficult situation. All the boys and the girls are mixing. Good luck trying to find, some perfect girl who's never associated deeply with someone else in their life. Everyone, it's just Kali Yuga. Especially in America, it's finished. It was finished a long time ago. At least in my life, it was finished in like 6th, 7th grade. Finished. so like this. This is Kali Yuga. So many seeming disqualifications from the Vedic system. But ultimately, the qualifications are bhakti. And this is what the Lord accepts. So these were considered fallen girls. But they were more glorified. So let's read this. The fallen girls under the clutches of Bhaumasura sincerely prayed to Lord Sri Krishna for their deliverance. And their sincerity of purpose made them at once pure by virtue of devotion. The Lord therefore accepted them as his wives, and thus their lives became glorified. Such auspicious glorification was still more glorified when the Lord played with them as the most devoted husband. So you're not defined by your sins. You're not defined also by your circumstances. These girls had an unfortunate lot. There's many instances where prostitutes were purified. Haridas Thakur purified the what is her name? Chintamani? The Chintamani prostitute. I can't remember if she's Chintamani, but there's another one with Bilvamangal Thakur. That's Chintamani with Bilvamangal Thakur. What's Haridas Thakur's? Yes. So anyhow, this prostitute was purified by coming in contact with Haridas Thakur. Haridas Thakur is a great example. He was born in a considered fallen family. Again, this will seem improper, but a Muslim birth entails all kinds of meat eating and so many things that are not going to be ideal for pure spiritual life. But because ultimately he was a great devotee of the Lord and surrendered to the Lord, naturally by his devotion, all those things became purified. And this is the nature of devotees. It's not that that's why in this Krishna consciousness movement, even people like myself could somehow get a Brahmin Diksha. Even people like Michael and Craig, were born doing so many abominable things. Even people like you guys who probably aren't following the Vedic prescription of how things should be done. Like Piyush is from a Brahmin family, but I know Piyush, and I know a few years ago a lot of non-Brahmin things were happening. So even, he would become a Brahma Bandhu or only a friend of a Brahmin. But he becomes qualified. It's not that you fall down, you reach sinful life, and you're disqualified. Actually, anybody who can come in contact with the devotional service of the Lord becomes qualified. So this is the great elimination of things like stereotypes. They have their place in this material world. Stereotypes, they have their place. But ultimately, nobody is barred. Nobody is disqualified. Even animals are not disqualified. Oh, well, he's just a dog. It's just a dog. There's a way to engage the dog in devotional service. Every time I go home to meet with my family, I do two things with my dog. And otherwise, he's disqualified from my association. Because he's dirty, he gets so many things all over me. But two things I always can do with him is I can take him on japa walks, because he likes walks. Me and him, his pastimes. He just likes a good walk, long walk. I take him on japa walks, and I can feed him a very lavish amount of prasadam. So especially my wife packed me way too much prasadam last time when I went to visit my family, and my dog had a huge feast. he's engaged in devotional service. He's hearing the holy name and he's eating prasadam. Everyone can do that. So even if somebody like this gentleman downtown, he has a tendency to be drunk, even if he's coming to programs and things like this, no problem. If he wants to come, he should come. Like this. Yes, we might have to take extra precautions with somebody who has some wild habits. But look at what Prabhupada dealt with, all these hippies. He found one of the dearest devotees. You may have heard of Craig, I'm sure you heard of Vishnu Jan Swami. Yes. He's like a legend in the devotional world, and especially in the early days. Prabhupada found him naked in a tree on drugs. Yes, naked in a tree, him and his friend naked in a tree. Just like what are these people doing? And he told them to come down and essentially convinced them to take up the devotional life. They weren't this guy's on drugs and naked in a tree. We don't want him around the devotees. Prabhupada wasn't like that.
Well, people like that tend to be more susceptible. Perfect candidate.
Yes. We see this person, yes. That's your qualification in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The more fallen you are, the more perfect you are to be able to take the devotional life.
Even Jesus, he didn't go to the intelligent class and all that. He went to the common people. They were more susceptible to listen to him.
That's right. Jesus Christ, there's even verses he's spoken saying, just I didn't come for the saints, I've come for the sinners. If you're a great sinner, you're qualified to get the Lord's mercy, actually. If you're fallen in, that's why in Jesus' Beatitudes, he said, blessed are, and he listed all of the seemingly unfortunate people of life, because they can get the mercy of the Lord. They can actually feel humble and repentant. Whereas the people who are the top class or, the top levels of society, you see it on book distribution. You know what, this is like, not racist, but I noticed something on book distribution. I find that we go downtown, the ethnic or you could say the more poverty level people, and they oftentimes tend to be of certain races, are much more susceptible and humble and able to talk to you about something if you're on the street than the snooty white people who are, not all, but generally it's there. Much more of the white people, they don't give you the time of day, and they're, you could tell they have some money and things, like they come up in the nice car and then, stay away from these crazy people, honey. Things like that. They have this type of mentality. And we see it. We're at the university. It's very difficult at the university. Why? Because they have some money at the university. They have some money and they have some affluence and they're puffed up. They're proud of their nonsense achievements in the material world. And so you're an idiot, what race of people are the ones coming over and filming you and trying to do that? Yeah, it's all the white kids, they think they're so funny, they're just so stupid. But, I'm not trying to be racist against white people. Why? Because white people tend to be the privileged people of the world right now. Tend to be. And it's shifting. But the privileged people, they become arrogant with their privilege. So ultimately, you see the Lord's most dear devotees, the large majority of them would have been considered fallen in society. So there is no disqualification. It's the actual ultimate equalizer against racism and all these other things. But with this politically correct culture, they would have so much problem with what I've said. But the main thing is we're saying there's no disqualification, no race, no gender, no this. Yes, there are some generalities there. It exists. Women have certain qualities. Men have certain qualities. Certain races have certain cultural qualities. I've heard, I think Narsingha was here. He comes from a Jewish background. And he made a few jokes. I am Jewish, so this, things like this. There are certain things that certain races do. And there's certain things, some things might be more favorable for certain aspects of life, and some things may not be more favorable. It's not that these things don't exist. But in regard to the Lord, nothing is a disqualification. Look at the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. I mean, you guys haven't really gotten a great scope for it. Maybe, Craig, you saw a little bit of it, but it was still very early then. If you go to, say somewhere like Mayapur, you meet people from all over the world, all kinds of different cultures, all kinds of different races. I have African friends, I have Eastern European friends, Australian friends, people from all over the world, so many different cultures. Everybody can take to Krishna. Everybody. Women, men, anybody. People from so many unique types of backgrounds. It's incredible. I mean, so anyway, yes.
It makes me think of we're not practicing Hinduism. It's not like, Hindu God, Muslim God, Christian God. It's Sanatan Dharma, so it's actually for everyone.
Yes, this is not this isn't a sectarian thing at all. Yes, Krishna, the Indian culture and the people are very dear to Krishna. But actually, oftentimes I see, because of, even in India, it's pretty well, now actually it's shifting, but at least in the US, the Indians are the top earners. But as far as the world is concerned, India is known as a poorer country. It's just a fact. But, so if they may be very humble in means of money, but if you try to talk to them about spirituality, a lot of times, very arrogant. Oh, I know this thing. I know, oh my God. I know that when I was 3 years old. Really though? Because you're doing this thing that's totally against that. But this is the thing. Anybody who thinks they have some type of opulence in the material world, they get arrogant. They get puffed up. Happens all the time. I become the leader of the ashram. And then, next thing you know, I can get so many ideas. And so it's good to meet other senior devotees, and you get humbled. You get humbled. No disqualification at all. So the Lord used to live with his 16,108 wives constantly. He expanded himself into 16,108 plenary portions. Kind of not like a clone, it's like himself, but he can do many different forms. Only the Lord can do like that. And each and every one of them was the Lord himself, without deviation from the original personality. The Shruti mantra affirms that the Lord can expand himself into many, as husband of so many wives. He pleased them all with presentations, even at a costly endeavor. He brought the Parijata plant from heaven and planted it at the palace of Satyabhama, one of the principal queens. If therefore anyone desires the Lord to become one's husband, the Lord fulfills such desires in full. This is possible. I mean, it'll take many, many lifetimes to earn the merit. But if you're really attracted to being the Lord's husband, very nice. I used to like that song. All right, text 31. Evam vidha gadantinam sagira pura yoshitam nirikshanena binandan sasmitena yayohari. Evam vidaha, in this way, gadantinam, thus praying and talking about him. Saha, he, the Lord. Gira, of words. Purayoshitam, of the ladies of the capital. Nirikshanena, by his grace of glancing over them. Abhinandan, and greeting them. Sasmitena, with a smiling face. Yo, departed. Hari, the personality of Godhead. Translation. While the ladies of the capital of Hastinapur were greeting him and talking in this way, the Lord, smiling, accepted their good greetings, and casting the grace of his glance over them, he departed from the city. Actually, they're quite fortunate. And for their glorification of the Lord, he met them with a glance. You might think that's not much. But I'll tell you a story from my Guru Maharaj. He was at the, I think, Ratha Yatra. And he still had some doubts of Prabhupada, he came from India, and he's Indian, and he came from like a Vaishnava family, so he knew Vaishnavism. So then he sees Prabhupada doing so many things with all these Western people, and he said, what is going on here? But actually, he was at a Ratha Yatra, and he's seeing how Prabhupada is being glorified, and he remarked that in his heart he still felt some doubt, or why are they all worshipping him and things like this. And he said actually what happened is Prabhupada, when he was thinking that, Prabhupada turned and glanced at him and just stared at him for many seconds. And as he was staring at him, like, my Guru Maharaj, he said that he felt that, like, he knew that he was the truth. Like, he somehow knew just by his merciful glance that this is a bona fide person. Like, this is an authoritative person. And so ultimately, if you even get the glance of a devotee or a saintly person, if they're looking at you and wishing you well, it can finish just completely finish your material life. So you be careful when you associate the devotees. If the devotees want something well for you, then all of a sudden Krishna will start acting on your life. So even if you're like, all right, well, I'm gonna protect myself. I'm gonna protect my material life. I'm not interested in Krishna and the devotees. But all of a sudden, if a devotee wishes something for you, and say you're not trying to participate in the devotees' wishes for you to take deeper to Krishna consciousness, the devotee will frown down and like, Krishna, please help this poor soul. And then Krishna will start tearing apart your material life. He'll start tearing apart your material life until you take up the gift that the devotee is trying to give to you. That's why Prabhupada, he could just glance upon them and he can completely change their fortune. Take someone naked in a tree on drugs and make him one of the exalted of the devotees of his disciples. This is the nature of pure devotee. But now imagine having the Lord's glance personally. It seems like, these women are married to the Lord, but these women are just on a balcony appreciating the Lord. The fact that the Lord is coming through their realm of vision and he looks upon them, how fortunate these souls are. We're not even close to this level. We actually are, in some way. To go before the deities. People say a lot about taking darshan of the deities. Everyone thinks darshan means to see. Well, I've come to see the deity. I've come to see the deity.
We come for them to see us.
Yes, that's real darshan. We can't really even see the deity at all. All we can see is some wood and some
I
clothing.
pray that a lot. Like my deities don't. I would love to really see.
Yeah. But you know what they see? That's why when we offer our obeisances, we always do it with our left side. We're putting ourselves on display for the Lord to see us, actually. We're putting ourselves on display that, all right, you're seeing me. I can't see you. But you're seeing me right now. He sees when you're dancing in the morning and you're clapping. Or all these things. He's seeing everything. He sees when you're negligent and you don't really care to look at the deities at all. He knows. But this is what darshan is. We come to be seen by the deity. And if we are seen enough by the Lord and recognized by the Lord, He'll manifest so that we can see Him at some point. Even though right now it's not so easy. So let's maybe read one more verse. It's not that long a purport. Ajata Shatru Pritanam Gopitaya Marudvisha Parebhya Shankita Sneha Prayunkta Chaturanginim. Ajata Shatru, Maharaj Yudhishthir, who was no one's enemy. Pritanam, defensive forces. Gopitaya, for giving protection. Madhudvisha, of the enemy of Madhu, Sri Krishna. Parebhya, from others, enemies. Shankita, being afraid of. Sneha, out of affection. Prayunkta, engaged. Chatu Angani, 4 defensive divisions. Maharaj Yudhishthir, although no one's enemy, engaged 4 divisions of defense, horse, elephant, chariot, and army, to accompany Lord Krishna, the enemy of the Asuras, demons. The Maharaj did this because of the enemy, and also out of affection for the Lord. So Yudhishthir, even though it's Krishna, and Yudhishthir knows it's Krishna, that no one can do anything against Krishna, he did what he could to engage his divisions of defense. He's a king. He's the king of the world at this point. And he engaged everything to guide Lord Krishna out of the... But, he did this because of the enemy, because, enemies may be wanting to attack Krishna or something. But also out of affection for the Lord. A gesture of affection. Even like when a devotee leaves. Actually, like say a devotee's visiting your home, the proper thing to do is to go outside to greet them. And when they leave, you go outside to guide them off. And you wait till they're out of sight before you go back in your home. That's the proper etiquette. So there's etiquettes to how to invite someone into your city if you're a king. There's etiquettes on how to let someone out. And based on the level of prestige of the person or the level of affection that you have for them, you'll take even more levels of etiquette. So this is one of the etiquettes. Let's see how long this is. Natural defensive measures are horses and elephants combined with chariots and men. Horses and elephants are trained to move to any parts of the hills or forests and plains. The charioteers could fight with many horses and elephants by the strength of powerful arrows, even up to the standard of the Brahmastra, similar to modern atomic weapons. Maharaj Yudhishthira knew well that Krishna is everyone's friend and well-wisher, and yet there were asuras who were by nature envious of the Lord. So out of fear of attack from others and out of affection also, he engaged all varieties of defensive forces as bodyguards of Lord Krishna. If required, Lord Krishna himself was sufficient to defend himself from the attack of others, who counted the Lord as their enemy, but still he accepted all the arrangements made by Maharaj Yudhishthira, because he could not disobey the king, who was his elder cousin. The Lord plays the part of a subordinate in his transcendental sporting, and thus sometimes he puts himself in the care of Yashodamata, for his protection in his so-called helplessness of childhood. That is the transcendental Leela or pastime of the Lord. The basic principle for all transcendental exchanges between the Lord and his devotees is exhibited to enjoy a transcendental bliss for which there is no comparison, even up to the level of Brahmananda. So this is why we do Archana. This is why we do a lot of our things. What nonsense offering are we making on some aluminum plate, or all these ingredients we're getting from different places, contaminated by so many things? Why does the Lord need that? He doesn't want that. There's so many contaminants coming somewhere or another. There's only so many things. We chant so many aparad prayers when we offer. Why? Because we're making tons of offenses in our attempt to offer to the Lord. But he's not interested in the actual physical item. He doesn't need our curries or our potatoes or whatever we're making. No problem.
What's in our heart?
Yeah, he's looking for the devotion. So, he doesn't need protection from Maharaj Yudhishthira. He doesn't need that at all. He's like the Lord of every universe. He can snap his fingers and everyone would disappear if need be. But he's seeing the affection of Yudhishthira. But this is why the Archana process is essential. It's not that he needs our food stuff. It's not that he needs... We need, actually. He doesn't need anything even from us. He likes our love. And we need his love. We need him, and he likes when we come to him. He doesn't even need us. But he very much loves it. So this is why we do everything that we do. This is why we change the cups and prepare everything. It's out of affection for the Lord. It's like, oh my God. Really what's happening, I've disrespected the Lord today. Oh my gosh. This is what Archana is training us every day, to actually have real affection for the Lord, to want to serve the Lord. Even if out of duty at first, like, oh my God, I could do the cups again. Oh my God, the offerings at this time, like, it's so annoying. We can think like that. We can think like that. But this is actually our, because we're actually envious of service to the Lord, and I want to be served. This is getting in the way of my service, of what I want in life. But ultimately, this is why Archana is so important. It's teaching you how to cultivate the attitude of service to the Lord, and you start molding your life around service to the Lord. All right, well, I can't go to bed. I can't stay out late anymore because I got to get up and worship the Lord in the morning. Oh, I can't do this, that, and the other thing because the Lord needs this at that time and the Lord needs this. It's teaching you, it's training you to always put the Lord back in your consciousness. Oh, I got to do this for the Lord. I can't leave, the Lord neglected here. So something like this. This is the strength of Archana worship. It's teaching you this very thing, so that if you actually met the Lord face to face, you would be inclined to serve Him. But don't worry, you won't be meeting the Lord face to face unless you want to serve Him. If that strong desire is there, and what happens with desire, then you make some endeavor, then the mercy can come. If you have a strong desire, anyone who has a strong desire makes an endeavor. If you don't have a strong desire, you'll never make any endeavor. You say, I desire this, but you don't make any endeavor. You really don't desire it that much. Or you're not, you make some endeavor if you really desire something. So if you really desire service to the Lord, you'll make an endeavor. So what do you really desire, and what are you making endeavors for? The way to treat the Lord, these are what the devotees do. They go everything unnecessary. The Lord doesn't need all of your armies and things like that, but He'll arrange everything out of affection for the Lord. The Lord doesn't need our water cups. The Lord doesn't need our meager offerings. The Lord doesn't need our ringing of bells and chanting prayers. He doesn't need any of that. But we need it. We need it, actually. The Lord doesn't need even our bhakti. We need the bhakti. We need to give our love to the Lord. It's in our best interest. He just really likes it. But right now we're not really, Parth was kind of, I could tell this verse that Nrsinga did hit him hard. We're not really practicing bhakti. No, we're not on the platform of pure love of God right now. But we've started the process. Some shraddha, some faith has arisen. And now we're taking some bhajana kriya. We're doing some spiritual activities. Some trainings. We're training in the parking lot, trying to learn how to drive this devotional vehicle. But we're not ready to get out on the road. And yes, there's so many obstacles. We keep hitting the cones, and we don't really understand what we're doing. We're attached to this material thing, that material thing, and this. And we're slowly, by doing the process, purifying. What's the process? What's going to cleanse the mirror of the heart? Well, yes, you know the verse, but the Sankirtan. The Sankirtan movement. Getting together and glorifying the Lord. The chief one is coming together and chanting together. It's a group effort. So here you are as a group. I'm glad that we do this in Bhagavatam. But see what can be done. The more Sankirtan you can have in your life, the better. The more clean and ultimately your endeavor matters. Not that the Lord needs anything that you do. I'm disqualified. I'm so fallen. I can't offer anything nice to the Lord. Yes, you're right. But ultimately, you need the endeavor. You need it. It's not even if you're self-interested and completely selfish. Still, you should carry on, do bhakti, because you need it. He doesn't need you. He'd like you though. He'd like your endeavor. He'd like your affection. That's what bhakti is. It's not a bunch of following a bunch of rules. Even though the rules can help you progress, but that's not what it's about. It's about actual affection. But anyhow, I can try and beat the dead horse, but you guys got the point. So make some endeavor for Krishna. It's for your best interest, and ultimately, he'll like it very much, and he'll reciprocate with you. So anyhow, thank you for joining for Bhagavatam today. Hare Krishna. And we will, we won't do a full Bhagavatam class tomorrow, but we will read something. I think I'll do that thing you guys like when we read the Prema Vaivarta sometimes. Yeah, so I'll read that teaching from Jagadananda Pandit. Just wherever I'm at in the book, I'll open the page and we'll read it and talk about it tomorrow.
You need to write that?
Yes.
Because I'm on a schedule for the
Okay.
computer job appointment.